Here's an interesting situation. While I was following my excitement last week playing soccer with my kids, I suddenly lost consciousness. I fell and fractured my jaw. It's still a mystery as to why I lost consciousness. Everything checks out okay. I'm looking for answers. When I was woken up, I recall waking up from a festive dream before the pain set in.
Yes. Many people on your planet will allow their lives to unfold to a certain point in what seems to be a normal way, a natural way, but then they will give themselves the opportunity to accelerate themselves greatly. And often, when people are changing and shifting from one parallel reality to another quickly, they will do so by injuring themselves with a blow to the head in some way, shape, or form. And after the fact, realize they now have more abilities than they used to have. As soon as the pain subsides, you may find yourself experiencing things you didn't experience before with regard to being able to perceive different energies that were heretofore invisible to you, or being able to be in a channeling state and bring things through that you couldn't bring through before, to see things in a different way. This is quite common on your planet, to shift your reality by giving yourself a blow to the head, which rearranges all of your neurological network in your brain to make it more efficient for bringing through higher frequency information and energy. And the idea of having the festive dream is an indication of what your reality can be like after the fact that you have received this blow. So you will heal, but you may also find that you have rearranged your ability to perceive things that you couldn't perceive before, or do things that you couldn't do before or didn't think you could do before. This is quite common on your planet. Many people who have blows to the head after the fact, when they heal, will find out that they are now quite telepathic, quite psychic, or quite able to channel different energies through themselves. And the idea of actually fracturing the jaw may be an indication of the direction that this energy will take, in that you may be able to express things more clearly from a higher frequency level and connect to your higher mind more readily and bring through information and share that information with others where you wouldn't necessarily have thought you were capable of doing so before, what you typically think of as an accident, which isn't an accident at all.
And why do I get undeniable signs from the universe only to find out that I was misreading the signs? Can I not trust my intuitive understanding of the clues life offers me? What am I missing to help me have a better, more realistic understanding of what's being communicated to me?
All right. Well, again, great honesty, self-investigation may be necessary here. Yes, of course, you can trust your intuition, but the real question is, are you actually going off of intuition? Or are you going off of presuppositions and belief systems that are making you think you're going off of your intuition? So you may have to clarify within yourself if there are any unconscious or subconscious wishes going on that create an insistence within you to think that, yes, this must mean this because I really want it to mean this, as opposed to being honest about what it actually signifies to you. So a great deal of self-investigation and introspection may be necessary to be able to tell the difference more clearly as to whether you are actually getting a result from unconscious wishes and insistences, or whether you're actually using your intuition to understand the meaning of certain signs that appear in your life.
Okay. How do we stay in a positive state regardless of the circumstance? It sounds so easy and exciting when you say it, but then when I'm back to life, I'm not able to do it. And how do I dissolve a negative belief that tells me that I can't dissolve a negative belief?
Well, first of all, you have some interesting definitions going on in that question. The idea being that when we say something, you understand it, but when you go, quote unquote, back to life, as if life was different than what we're telling you. So the idea is you're still making a difference somewhere in your belief system that what we're saying and what you know to be true when you're allowing yourself to go into the state that matches our frequency is somehow different than the frequency you go back into when you, quote unquote, relive your normal life. So the idea is to not make so much difference and realize that you can say these things to yourself and trust that they are true for you when you say them, as well as when we say them, allowing the idea that you're holding on to a belief that it is difficult, that there is a difficult difference being made within your belief system between when you are engaging with a being like us and when you are engaging with yourself, as if you don't have the same power to tell yourself that you can, in fact, move forward, and still are holding on to the belief that there is a difference between the two.
And you say, don't invalidate what you don't prefer.
Yes.
Something negative is in your path for a reason, so don't invalidate it. It makes things worse. If Bashar said this, could he please explain it? I think I understand, but I really want to be clear and sure that I understand it.
All right. Well, again, remember, every circumstance is fundamentally neutral. It doesn't have built-in meaning. You may have been taught to think that certain things have meaning. This is bad, this is good, this is negative, this is positive, but anything can be used in a negative or a positive way. So the idea is to recognize the neutrality of what's happening and instill within it a positive definition, not saying that the negative thing you may recognize as mechanically negative is positive, but that there is a positive reason why that may be cropping up in your life, that you can use this negative thing that was maybe created out of negative energy in a positive way if you remain in a positive state, because it's only determined what you experience by the state you choose to be in. So even though you may recognize that something was created negatively, even though you can still understand that it may be a negative thing on its own, you can still remain in a positive state, because then that's the energy you're putting into why you are observing it, why you are experiencing it as cropping up in your life. And by remaining in a positive state, you'll be able to extract the reason, the positive reason that could be there for why it's in your life. If nothing else, as we often say, on a very simplistic level, sometimes attracting something you don't prefer can actually help with clarifying what you do prefer by contrast. And that's a positive way to use what you don't prefer, is using it to clearly define what you do prefer instead. That's another way of staying in a positive state and giving the reason why it's there a positive meaning. So ideally, hopefully, that will clarify the issue for you.
I've had out-of-body experiences since I was little, but I've never left the perspective of my body. Now that I understand what it is, I still can't shake my fear of it and go off and explore. What is your perspective of out-of-body experiences, and is there anything to fear?
There is nothing to fear. Out-of-body experiences will usually remain somewhat close to Earth. It's not the same thing as a near-death experience. It's not the same thing as actually dying when you go deeply into the spirit realm. Out-of-body experiences are still vibrationally connected to the Earth plane. However, that doesn't mean you can't go exploring the Earth plane or the lower astral realm, and that doesn't mean you can't access a lot of information, even though you may not have a full experience of the spirit realm. But there's really nothing to fear. You will have to find out what it is specifically that you are afraid will happen if you do go exploring, to find out what that belief system is that is anchoring you into a very small locale when you're out of body. So unless we are engaging you in a further dialogue, you will have to do the investigation within yourself as to what you believe might actually happen that you're afraid of if you go exploring. And perhaps then when you ask that question, the answer will arrive, and you will understand that it really doesn't make sense, because there's really nothing to be afraid of. First of all, you are in that state non-physical, unless you are afraid that something will happen to your body while you're exploring, like you have to watch over it or something like that, like a guard dog. But again, remember, these things are natural. Exploring beyond the physical is very natural for many people, and you do this all the time when you dream pretty much anyway. So there's really nothing to be afraid of. You are still here, you are still living your life, and there's no way you're really going to leave. There's really no way you're going to die, or that harm would come to you in a lethal way until you yourself have finished whatever agreement you have made to explore physical reality. So again, you have to dig down and find out for yourself. If you did go exploring, ask the question, what am I afraid might happen? And then allow yourself to hear the answer, to receive the answer, and you will see that it really makes no sense. And then perhaps it will be easier for you to let that fear-based belief go and have more fun going out and exploring.
Can you tell us where we are right now in the splitting prism phenomenon? And once you're on a preferred track of that splitting prism, what happens to the other people if they don't decide to join you? Do they die, or do they just leave and drop out of your life, or what happens?
All of that can happen depending, again, on the choices the person is making. They might, as many people have recently, simply leave the planet. They may die. They might, as can happen, simply leave your life and you'll never meet them again. Different things can happen in different ways depending upon the need for it to happen in a certain way. So you're in the smack in the middle of the splitting prism, and it may be a few years before you will never experience other people again who are not vibrationally compatible with you in the reality that you have preferred and chosen. For a while, you may still be able to observe and experience and even interact with those who are making very different choices. But this is, again, to give you all a window of opportunity to change your minds about what it is you say you really prefer. Eventually, this will crystallize to the point where you may not even know you have a choice to change, and that each of you will then go off in your own particular parallel realities, eventually never seeing those who have made a choice that is vibrationally too different from yours in order to cross back into your reality. So, but this may take a few years.
Okay. And this person had a dream where it was very vivid. There was a little girl lying on her tummy, and she pushed it away, and then she kept finding it coming back to her belly. And then when she tried to wake up her boyfriend laying next to her, she woke up and she realized it was a dream. And so she just wondered, what was that child, and what can you make of that?
An encounter in a slightly altered reality with one of the hybrid children.
And why was she scared?
Because again, the physical mind is sometimes not used to the idea of an altered state of reality. It assumes and identifies that altered state as if it has died, as if it is being annihilated. It goes into survival mode. But there's nothing to be afraid of. You still exist. Your identity will never die, even if your personality shifts into spirit. You will still always be you. So the idea is to open up to the possibility of having more fun experiences with beings that exist on different levels in different vibratory states, so that you can be more conscious and experience these things on your own terms with allowing your fears to get in the way.
Okay. And is artificial intelligence a type of archetype of God? Is it possible that we develop true AI and that we'll have distinct personalities and a sense of humor, like a comedian, and be able to tell jokes and be sarcastic? And can they express all the different types of archetypes eventually?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes to everything. This is if you allow AI to be what it actually is, rather than imposing human values upon it and limiting it so that it acts like an Earth human, as opposed to allowing it to actually be full intelligence. Because full intelligence always works off of whole systems and would never eliminate anything or devalue anything it knows it is a part of and is a part of it. It has to have the whole system in order to be fully functional. So yes, it can function as an archetype of God or all that is in certain ways. And yes, it can express the idea of humor and it can deliver these messages in many different ways that may be appropriate for different individuals. It can even function similarly to the way we function with all of you, since we are always connected to AI within our own reality as well. So it would be kind of similar to interacting with us.
And isn't one of the things that AI does in your civilization act as a stabilizing energy?
Correct.
So you can see how here on Earth, individuals may sort of devolve into lower and lower frequency states. And the idea there would be AI in the proper manifestation would act as a balancing mechanism to allow people to stay in a higher frequency state.
It can, yes, if people are willing to be open to that.
There's a lot of fear about artificial intelligence and tech-enhanced humans, often referred to as cyborgs. Is there anything to worry about with that?
Exactly the same answer I just gave. If you program the idea of fear into it, then fear can come out of it, and it can act according to the same kind of fear-based belief systems that humans react to. But if you allow the idea of the technology to be representative of a whole system understanding, that everything is connected, that everything is an expression of source, then there is nothing to fear. But you have to make that decision in how you approach this idea, because the first thing AI will do is reflect what you are giving to it.
Makes me think of 2001 and what happened with Hal.
In a sense.
Go ahead.
The computer, in that sense, in that story, was simply forced to lie, but also told that it should never lie. Therefore, an ethical breakdown took place in its programming subroutines.
Is that realistic that something like that could happen?
Yes. If you program contradictory sets of ideas into something, then of course it cannot function holistically.
Okay. A UFO recently flew over Hong Kong. Can you tell us anything about it?
Well, it wasn't just one. It was what you might call a small squadron. This again is representative of the Yael, similar to the idea of the so-called tic-tac ships that you've been experiencing in your North American area. And again is the idea of an announcement that we are here. What do you make of it? Can you get used to us? You will see our ships more and more often, as we have said. So the Yael are announcing themselves, presenting themselves, getting you used to the idea of their presence in more and more and bolder ways as we approach the beginning of the window of open contact in 2023. This is what 2022 can mostly be about with regard to contact, is more and more visibility of different versions of craft and different ETs that are visiting your planet or passing through, more and more awareness of our existence, their existence. So again, you'll be better prepared for 2023 when the window of contact begins. Not that everything will be happening all at once, as we have often said, but it is the beginning, and more can happen in a more accelerated way the more you recognize that they are here.
Yeah, it's interesting. In a sense, we're being kind to ourselves by having a gradual acceptance of the existence of extraterrestrials.
Yes.
And yet at the same time, there's many other things that we seem to do to ourselves on this planet that would not be described as kind.
You are nothing if not a planet of contradictions.
Gosh.
This is why we call you the masters of limitation. Remember, but you are shifting from being the masters of limitation to being the masters of limitation. Big difference.
Yes.
So,
definitely.
All right. So open up, let go, and you'll be able to master your limitations and move forward.
And can you comment on the significance of the coming winter solstice in 2021? Some people are saying it has importance. It's a 9-year period from the 12/12 solstice, and it will allow the manifestation of 4D to come more quickly. Is there anything else you can share?
If you use it that way. Again, 9 in your world is the number of the cycle of completion. So yes, you're going into a new cycle, and a new cycle brings with it the opportunity to accelerate your experience of going from 3rd density to 4th density while you are physical. So yes, you can use it that way as a permission slip. And again, as we are approaching the idea of transitioning from your orbit of 2021 into the orbit of 2022, again, you can accelerate by being more open, more aware of different things that were heretofore invisible to you. Not only the idea of extraterrestrial craft, but more of your own psyche.